गणानां त्वा गणपतिं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणस्पत आनः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम्। ॐ श्रीमहागणाधिपतये नमः। ॐ वृषभं चर्षणीनां विश्वरूपमदाभ्यं बृहस्पतिं वरेण्यम्। ॐ तद्विष्णोः परमं पदं सदा पश्यन्ति सूरयः दिविव चक्षुरा ततम्। Om, can everybody say along with me 3 times? Hare Rama Krishna. Om, Hare Rama Krishna, Hare Rama Krishna, Hare Rama Krishna. I'm sorry for the delay. I was actually not feeling well this morning and I was in 2 minds on whether to come or not. And finally by the time I started, I got late. We'll continue the discussion from the last week. Since some of you were not here last week, I'll just quickly summarize what we discussed last week. We talked about so-called Arudha-padas, Arudhas, and what I said is, if you look at somebody's 5th house, for example, I said 5th house shows the abilities. It is the start, seed of the Dharma Trikona. So it shows the seed of what defines one's Dharma, which is one's abilities. So I said 5th house is one's abilities. And I said that what are one's abilities? There is no way for anybody to see that or understand it or feel it. So I said that because of the activities that one does, there are certain things that become visible, which rise from one's abilities. So Arudha of the 5th house is the risen aspect, the aspect of the 5th house that rises, and that is tangible, that is visible materially. So I said that the actual abilities of the person are from the 5th house, which is just a potential. The actual houses are a potential that is there always. It is not something that is actually visible. Somebody's abilities are what God blessed somebody with. And those abilities are simply a potential. So every house, if you see from Lagna, because Lagna is the Satyapitha or the seat of truth, all the houses from Lagna are basically the potential of that person, the potential that God has given to that person. And if you look at the Lord of that house, he is the activity of that house. Lord is a planet. And I said that houses or rasis are basically circumstances, situations, potentials. On the other hand, planets show things that are kinetic. Potential energy is from rasis and kinetic energy is from grahas. So I said that the Lord of the house, he shows the energy, he shows the application of one's intelligence, one's consciousness, which is a moving thing, which is a live thing. On the other hand, rasis are inanimate things and grahas are animate beings. So if you are applying your consciousness, your intelligence to do something out of that ability so that the ability manifests in a material way, I gave the analogy of the Lord of the house being a mirror and an object that you are looking through the mirror being the house, and the image that you are seeing is basically the Arudha. The real object is somewhere, you can't really see it. You can only see it in a mirror. So that is basically the analogy. So the Lord of the house is like the mirror through which you can see that object. In other words, Lord of the house is basically the kinetic energy which turns that potential into something that is visible in the material world, that rises in this material world. So we found how to compute it. I said that take any house, take where the Lord is, find the distance and take the same distance from the Lord, just like in the mirror analogy. If you have an object and mirror here, the image will be there. You will see as if the particular object is there. So similarly, take where the house is and where the Lord is, and I said apply the same distance from the Lord, and that will be the Arudha. And I said Arudhas will show tangible things. So let's see a couple of examples. I gave examples of how to compute it, but I did not give examples of how to apply it. Is this the older version?
This is the most recent.
Most recent, okay, good. for those who are listening to the CD, I am making my own chart. The data is April 4, 1970, and I don't remember the exact what time I rectified. I entered 5:43 p.m. And then the place is Machilipatnam, 81 East 8, 60 North 10. Let us see D24. Oops, something is wrong. Do you use some other Ainamsha?
No, so,
Okay. Then maybe the time is wrong.
I have your chart as well.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. You have my chart. What is it? PVR?
Yeah, personal stuff.
Can you open the chart
Yeah,
for me?
yeah. Hope this is accurate.
No.
This
Okay.
548.
Okay. 42 was actually Sanjay's statistics. Okay. So if you look at this chart, now, in order to illustrate the Arudhas, I will show you the use of dashas, even though we haven't yet covered dashas. And before I use the dashas, let me quickly tell you what they are. I will not tell you how to find them, which we will do in a later class leisurely, but basically you divide somebody's life into various dashas or various periods. And each period you divide into various sub-periods or antardashas. And then you divide, you can go on dividing like that. Each sub-period, you can divide further into sub-periods. And in each division, each period or sub-period is basically given to a planet. The planet basically owns that particular period. During that period of your life or the sub-period of your life, you will be under the influence of that particular planet. So that is basically the idea. So if you look at, for example, Sanidasha, Moon Antardasha, and let's say during this time, I was writing intermediate examinations, which is basically higher secondary school in India, and I was appearing for IIT entrance examination. So suppose somebody with this chart comes to you in 1987 May and asks you, how is this year for me? Will it be a good year or a bad year? Then what you can do is look at the dashas. And again, let's not worry how it is computed. The software does it for you, and all of you have the software. So just use the software, enter the data, and you can find Humchotri Dasha started from Moon. That is the Dasha that you have to use by default. And Shani Dasha runs from 1975 till 1994. And out of this, Moon Antardasha was running 1986 to 1988. So the period that I mentioned is basically in Moon Antardasha. Now let's see how Moon is. You don't really have to look at how the Dasha is, because Dasha is for 19 years. Shani Dasha, if you see here, is for 19 years. So there are so many different things that happen in those 19 years. So if you want to look at... Yes.
Why did you pick the Shani Dasha first of all?
Because I was interested in 1987. How education was in 1987. Is it a good year for education? Will this person do well in all his examinations and go to IIT or some good institute, or will he do badly and then will there be a break in education? Or that is what I am interested in seeing. I am interested in seeing how education will be during that particular year. So I looked at the dasha. I saw which dasha was running then. Shani Dasha was running. And you can see how Shani Dasha is, but that will tell you how that 19-year period is. If you want to see how a particular 1 year or 2 year period is, you can directly go to the Antardasha and see if it is a good Antardasha or a bad Antardasha. And if you see here, Moon, where is Moon? Can somebody tell me, what is the chart for education first? D24. And in D24, where is Moon?
Moon is in Lagna.
Moon is in Lagna. And now, I said that to see how somebody does in examinations, whether somebody gets a good rank or good score or good total, what is the thing that you have to see? Arudhas or houses? Arudhas, because those are tangible things. If you see, during this period, I developed an ability, there was a particular ability that I developed that people cannot see, then that may be from houses. But if I stood state first, or if I went to IIT Madras, if I got a particular rank in a particular examination, or got a particular prize, you have to see it from Arudhas. So what are the Arudhas that moon is involved with? You see here, moon is in A5 and A11. What is 11th house? Gain. So A11, what does A11 show? The tangible gain, something that was gained. What kind of gain is it? See, what is the Rasi where this 11 is? What is this Rasi? Gemini. So some gains relating to Gemini, and also Gemini is Lagna. So some tangible gains relating to Lagna. Lagna is very existence. The self. Excuse me if I am breathing a little harder. Like I said, I am not feeling really well. So I may be breathing a little bit harder today. So excuse me for that. So A11 is the tangible gains relating to education. What do those gains do? Because that is a Lagna, it enhances that person's fame. Lagna is also fame. First house stands for fame. The fame and the very existence. So it also, this gain that comes during moon period, it also, because it is in Lagna, it also is important. It's a stepping stone for that person. Because Lagna is your very existence. And in D24, Lagna is a beginning in learning. In D10, Lagna is a beginning in career. It can be a new beginning in career. Similarly, in D24, it can be a new beginning in learning. Because Lagna is the very seed of your existence. And here, when I say existence, it is existence relating to learning, education. So during Moon Antardasha, there can be some gains which give a new beginning for the education of the person. And then, what is the other Arudha that is there? A5. What does A5 stand for? Fifth house is the ability. So what is A5? Tangible, Arudha of the fifth house. What does that mean? Some tangible thing that reflects on somebody's ability. So it can be like coming state first in intermediate examination, getting a rank in IIT Madras. All these things are tangible things, using which people think he is a capable person. About somebody's abilities relating to learning, people will make judgments based on it. But again, let me emphasize, like I did yesterday in the other class, it is not real. Somebody may be really, really smart, but he may do very badly in all the examinations. He may not be good at writing examinations, or he may just be unlucky, or there may be something wrong in the correction of his paper. The person who is correcting the paper may be in a bad mood. He may just give bad marks to that person. And similarly, somebody may not be really that smart. He may just get lucky during one particular month or year or a day, and then he can achieve things that are considered difficult. So the padas, Arudha padas that we are talking about are not real. They don't really reflect on somebody's ability. Somebody's inherent ability is from the fifth house alone. But we can't really judge it. We have no visibility into that. So when I say Arudhas are Maya, illusion, that is true. You have to understand it. But at the same time, realize that we are living in the world of illusion. This whole world is illusion. So they are the most important things. So when you judge dashas or judge somebody's career or somebody's learning or anything, if you ignore Arudhas, your readings will not be perfect. Arudhas are very important because we live in an Arudha world. This whole manifestation, these roads, these trees, these buildings, everything is Maya. The real existence of our self is basically our soul, which is part of Narayana. The soul, the supreme soul which fills the whole universe. That is the reality. And as far as that is concerned, we can't even perceive it unless we are great saints or sages. We can't even perceive it. So even though that is the permanent thing and our soul struggles to get there, we have to give importance to Arudhas also when we use them when we use astrology in real life. And now,
how can we tell he will go to IIT or other?
That is difficult. That is very difficult. That is very difficult. But basically, we will do that later when we do dashas.
Okay.
But here I just want to illustrate Arudhas. Whether somebody goes to IIT or whether somebody is state first or state second, those are very difficult to get. All you know from this is there will be some recognition of the abilities in a tangible way. And then there will be some gains, which give both these gains and the recognition will give a new beginning because it is in Lagna. it will give a new beginning to that person. On the other hand, if the same A11 and A5 were not in Lagna, let us say they were in the 8th house,
There will be obstacles for all this.
then there can be some gains, etc., but they can give some sudden change, because 8th house can be sudden changes. So those gains that come to that person, they will result in some sudden changes, or they can also be relating to occult knowledge. 8th house is, like I said earlier, the house of occult knowledge, the hidden knowledge. So somebody can achieve something relating to occult knowledge during that time. But here somebody achieves something relating to the very essence of one's education, and then because of it, one's education progressed. It basically took a new step. And then let's see another thing. The 6th house, I said, is enemies. 6th house is the obstacles that you overcome. And if you look at A6, the Arudha of the 6th house, what does that show? That shows tangible obstacles, or tangible enemies, your competitors. When you are going to an examination, your competitors are an obstacle, a tangible manifestation of the obstacle. So if you look at A6, that is all your competitors, all the competition that you have to endure. And now, how is Moon placed with respect to A6? He is in the 12th house. 12th house means the house of loss, giving up, loss. So for the enemies doesn't necessarily mean a particular competitor. It means the competition, opposition, the opposition to my education, my progress in education. So with respect to my opposition and competition, Moon is in the 12th house from A6. So it shows losses to them. So that is also good. If you are looking at a political leader who is contesting in an election or something, it is not important if his chart shows promise of recognition. Because even if, for example, Kerry loses, let's say, even if Kerry loses, John Kerry, still he got so much recognition. Probably this is the peak of his career, even if he loses. This is the most important pivotal moment of his career, this election. So the chart may show you that his abilities will be recognized, great success, but still, even if he loses, he may still be getting it. If you look at competition, how A6 is performing compared to AL. AL is himself and A6 is opposition. So if you look at the competition, if you look at A6, then that will give you a better idea of whether somebody is winning or not. So here, because A6, Moon is well placed for me and badly placed for A6. Of course, there will be some people who do better than me, because I was not the topper in IIT JEE exam, for example. So there are people who do better than me, but this basically shows that I will not face a lot of opposition. Things will happen very smoothly. I did not really, during this time I stood state first, I was selected for IIT, and then for the MSET, the engineering entrance examination, I did not study at all, I just went and wrote, but still I got a rank, I think something in 30s I got. So there was no opposition, things happened very smoothly. That's what Moon in the 12th house from A6 shows, it just happens very easily. On the other hand, if Moon is, let's say, in A6, or in the 2nd house from A6, what that means is, Moon is encouraging A6. That means, Moon Antardesha is increasing the opposition. That means I have to struggle, I have to read, I have to mug, I have to do late nights to write the examinations. But here, in Moon Antardesha, I was not really struggling at all. That is what it shows. And another important thing, just like A6, you have to look at AL. Because we said there will be gains, tangible gains, there will be recognition, but the overall image people have of me is from my AL. A5 is something that A5 is my state first rank, my IIT selection, that is my A5. But AL is me, what people think of me. So somebody may be selected to IIT, but everybody may say, oh, that guy doesn't deserve it, how did he get it? Or somebody may become state first in intermediate examination, but people around him may say, oh, how come he came state first? He was not good even in our college, how did he come state first? So people may still not have a great image of the person. So the image people have of a particular person is from AL. Lagna is you, and AL is your image, your status, how people view you. So how is Moon placed from AL? Moon is in the 5th house. Is it good placement or bad placement? Good placement. What is the 5th house? It's the house of following and abilities. So this is not my real abilities. My real abilities is here. From Lagna, if you see from Lagna, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is my real abilities. But my perceived abilities are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The abilities that people perceive me as having are from Gemini. You see them from Gemini. And moon is in that very house. So during moon antardasha, during moon periods or sub-periods, there is lot of following, and also there are good events relating to the image people have of me. People will look at me as a very capable person in the matter of knowledge, not in other matters, not in the matter of career, other things. In the matter of knowledge, people will see me as a very capable person during moon periods. It's not that they don't see me always, because moon is a benefic planet is in the 5th house, and the lord of that house, Mercury, is in another sign from Arudha Lagna. Usually people have a good impression of me, of my capabilities. But during moon antardasha and Mercury antardasha, it can start. There can be some pivotal event that strengthens it, that enforces it, that reinforces it. So that is basically how you use Arudha. Let me give another example.
What about Shani Dasha in this case?
Yeah?
Does it imply any hard work associated with
Okay, Shani Dasha. How is Shani Dasha overall? So his question is, forget antardashas. Let's just see the overall dasha. So one hint I will give you is, when you are looking at dashas and antardashas are different. When you are looking at dashas, sun is the karaka for dashas, mahadashas, and moon is the karaka for antardashas. So at the dasha level, sun is basically atma and moon is mind. So mind keeps going through a lot of changes. So every year or 2 years there can be changes in the mentality. But atma is more stable. So at the mahadasha level, which is 19 years, 20 years, 10 years, that is the range of mahadashas. So at the mahadasha level, sun is important. And another thing is, when you are looking at houses, house lords, arudhas, all these things, for the concept of arudha, moon is the karaka, moon is the significator. He shows the concept. Because what is arudha? It is just this maya. And moon is nothing but the Devi. It is she because of whom this whole world exists. It is the maya of the Devi. So moon stands for the maya. And also mind. Mind is also part of maya. On the other hand, soul is not part of maya. It is part of satya. So sun who shows soul, he stands for what is satya, the atma. And moon who stands for mind and also for Devi. See, sun shows Shiva and moon shows Parvati. So moon who stands for Devi stands for the maya. This whole creation is maya, maya of the Devi. So arudhas are very important when you are judging antardashas, because those antardashas are ruled by moon, irrespective of which dasha it is. Here it is moon antardasha. Even if you are looking at Sun antardasha, Mercury antardasha, if you want to see what happens in a particular antardasha, you have to look at arudhas. They are more important. And also Chandra Lagna is more important. You can take Chandra, moon as the Lagna, because moon shows mind, and then you can see how the mind reacts. But let us go through that later when we do dashas properly. But for now, remember that arudhas are important when you do antardashas. But if you are doing mahadashas, the focus comes to sun. Yes?
I think I missed some couple in the last class in previous one.
Yeah?
Did you cover anything on dashas?
No, I did not. I did not.
Exactly
This is the first time I opened a dasha window.
Okay.
So what I said is, maybe you went away when I mentioned it in this class. Just forget how they are computed. Use the software to find them. Just make sure that you go to this tab Nakshatra Dasha, and there are so many dashas. Just make sure that you select Vinchotri Dasha, and then in the options, make sure you have Janmatara and Rashi.
Okay.
And then use that dasha. And how exactly to use it, I'll cover it in a future class, maybe 2 or 3 classes from now. I will cover it in detail, how they are computed and how they are used. But for now, what you can remember is, if Shani Dasha is for a 19-year period, during those 19 years, that person is under Shani's influence. Whatever Shani stands for in the chart, he has a chance to basically give those results. And antardashas are basically, you divide that big period into sub-periods, and each sub-period is ruled by a particular planet, and then again, based on what those planets stand for in the chart, they will give results relating to those matters during that sub-period. And you can divide further. And in the software, how you do it is, You just click on, for example, Shani, you see a rectangle around it, just click on it and then it will be divided.
Okay.
And if you want to divide something further, click on it and again move the mouse and click on it.
The charts are based on the Rashi chart or based on the
Rashi chart.
specific chart?
Yeah.
In the options you have like...
Yeah, select Rashi always. The other, all those, I mean, what some people do is when you say sun is at 31 degrees in, let's say, or 10 degrees in Aries, what some people do is from that they find, I told you how to find the Dasamsa and Avamsa positions from those degrees. What some people do is they find degrees, longitude in Dasamsa and Avamsa also. And then they use that degrees to find another nakshatra and then find Vimshatri Dasa. That is just experimental. That is basically a research thing. That is not what Parasat had. That is not what I use. But because some people may want to do research, I just added that option to the software. But always use Rashi. Rashi is the thing. Now, now his question is Shani Dasha. How will be Shani Dasha? So when you are looking at Dasha, Mahadasha, the concept of Dasha Lord is important. The concept of Arudha, I said, is ruled by moon. Similarly, the concept of lordship is ruled by sun. And also not lordship, placement, where the planet is placed, which house it is in, all these things from the real Lagna. That is ruled by, that is more important when you are judging Mahadasha. Because sun stands for Satya, not for Maya. Only moon stands for Maya. Moon stands for mind and Maya. Sun stands for
We are analyzing the Maya world only. So
we are still analyzing the Maya world, but when you are looking at the Mahadasha, that big period, during that big period, a particular aspect of your own Satya will manifest. If a particular part of your own Maya manifests during that time, it will change every couple of years. And that is captured by Antardasha. And Mahadasha captures things that are more steady. Antardasha captures things that are changing. And in Maya world, everything changes. But Mahadasha captures things that are more stable. And that basically invariably stands for things that are more of eternal nature, more related to Satya. So, first see, let's ignore the Arudhas here. So let's look at what are the houses involved. Where is Shani? Shani is in the third house. And what houses does he own? He owns the 8th house and 9th house. So 9th house basically stands for Dharma. I said 9th house is the house of Dharma and also Guru. So here Shani owns the 9th house and he also aspects it. From here he has a Grahadashti, 7th aspect on this house. So Shani basically shows traditional knowledge. 9th house is traditional knowledge. It is Dharma. What I have to learn. I may have to also learn math, physics, all these things. But because I was born in a Brahmin family, where people were Sanskrit scholars, people knew Sanskrit, people knew our scriptures. So learning those things is my Dharma. And also Shani stands for very traditional knowledge, very conservative and traditional knowledge. That is what Shani stands for. But Shani in another Rashi may slightly deviate. Shani is basically something that's very conservative, very slow moving. Shani is a slow moving planet out of all the planets. That's why he's called Manda. And here he is in which Rashi? Whose Rashi is Shani in? Sun. Sun is a very sattvic planet. He is the planet of, he stands for Paramatma. So because Shani is in Sun's house and Shani owns the 9th house and aspects the 9th house, basically Shani stands for traditional knowledge. And also another thing that Shani stands for is 8th house. He owns the 8th house. Shani owns the 8th house. What is 8th house? Working hard and occult knowledge. And Shani per se does not have much to do with occult knowledge. Rahu, Ketu, these are the planets for occult knowledge. So here it stands more than occult knowledge, it stands for working hard. Because Shani, is Shani a Karaka for working hard?
Yes.
Yes. Shani internally within each person, Shani shows his discipline. Out of all the avatars of Vishnu, when we linked each planet with one avatara, we said that Shani is Kurmavatara. He is basically the patience. Shani is the patience and persistence. So, because Shani owns the 8th house also, that is reinforced. So, during Shani Dasha, this person will work hard, will be very disciplined. After Mercury Dasha comes, I may become less disciplined. But in Shani Dasha, I was quite disciplined. And also, because of Shani owning the 9th house and aspecting it, like I said, I was into traditional knowledge. I was learning Puranas, I was learning a lot of Sanskrit knowledge. When I was in 4th class, I started learning Sanskrita, and then I think around age of 12, 11, I passed one exam. At 12, I passed another exam. I passed Sanskrita Bhasha Kovida and Sanskrita Bhasha Vicharada, conducted by Bharati Vidya Bhavan, and another university somewhere in Gujarat, I think Vadodara Vishwavidyalaya or something. A couple of universities, the exams conducted by them, the final exam is equivalent to a BA, the diploma is equivalent to BA degree. I passed those examinations. This was as soon as Sanidasa started. When I was 5, I started learning Sanskrita, a lot of shlokas. And then it was 79. During Maitri Antardasha, I started learning Sanskrit and Hindi, and I passed all these examinations. And I used to write poetry in Sanskrit. I used to read books in Sanskrit. Even now when I read Sanskrit books, I can understand them without looking at the translation. So learning of Sanskrit, learning of lot of traditional knowledge. Whatever I know about Puranas or Sanskrit or traditional Indian knowledge, I learned during those years, from the age of 5 to the age of 13. After that, I did not learn anything. Basically, I did not learn anything new. So that period was very important because it was Sanidasa. And another thing, one second, his placement. Can somebody say about his placement? Something about his placement? Can somebody say something about Shani's placement? Third house? Yeah, communication, initiative. And is it a good house for Shani to be in?
Yes.
Why?
Because it's in 6th house.
Yeah. Third and sixth houses, 3, 6 and 11. These 3 houses are very auspicious for any male-ship planet. Shani, Rahu, Ketu, Mars and even Sun. But these 3 planets, 3, 6 and 11 houses are very auspicious. If they are in some other houses, they can be mixed results. But if he is in that house, it is very, very good. But one drawback of this is, third house is the house of initiative, determination, the starting. It is the speed of Kamatrikona. And Shani, is he a planet of aggression or is he a planet of going slow? He is a planet of going slow. So people with Shani in the third house, they get things very easily, but they are very lazy. In general, in any chart, Dashamsha, Siddhamsha, Rashi chart, any chart, if you see somebody with Mars in the third house, what would you say about that? Very aggressive. They want to do everything. Whenever they see something, they just want to do it. But Shani in the third house, even though it's said to be an auspicious placement, it makes somebody a lazy person. But he will command. He will command lot of luck. Things will come very easily for him. So he will be very lucky. Things will come very easily, but he will be very lazy. So he has to work consciously towards overcoming laziness. And in fact, I was always very lazy. Especially in Sanidasa, I was extremely lazy. Yes?
Anything related to the word Latin should be some association with the 9th house.
Yeah. If a planet is in the third house, third is the 7th from 9th. A planet in the third house aspects the 9th house. So, if the planet aspects the 9th house, if it's a malefic planet basically, aspect means desire, like I said earlier. So if a planet aspects the 9th house, it wants to give something related to your fortune. And if it's a benefic planet, it may or may not give. It is very nice about it. It does not enforce its will. On the other hand, if it's a malefic planet, it will enforce its will. It will just do it. It has a desire to give you fortune, and it will give that fortune. So if Shani is in the third house, Shani will give you that fortune. What are the other houses Shani aspects from the third house? Let's say Shani is in the third house. He has third aspect on the 5th house, and then he has 7th aspect on the 9th house, and then he has 10th aspect on the 12th house. 12th house of giving. So 5th house of popularity, Shani is a karaka for masses. So if Shani aspects the 5th house, that is good. Shani basically has a desire, Shani has a desire to give following and popularity and fame. So 5th house results will be given by Shani in the 3rd house. The 9th house results will be given. He will give fortune, especially in this case, because the 9th house is Shani's own house. It is even stronger, that indication of being lucky in Shani Dasha. And then 12th house. What is 12th house? 12th house of Moksha and also giving. 12th house of giving. So when will somebody be able to give? And another thing, when a planet has Grahadrishti on a particular house, I said earlier that all it shows is the planet has a desire to give results relating to that house. Whether the desire actually results in some tangible things or not, that depends on what is the relationship between the planet and the Karaka. Who is the Karaka for 12th house? Shani is the Karaka. If you go and refer to the handout I gave in a previous class, Shani himself is the Karaka for 12th house. So if he is Karaka for that house and if he aspects that house will basically flourish. So this person will give a lot related to knowledge. Shani will make the person give a lot. And in order to give a lot, he has to have a lot. So basically based on all the aspects of Shani, all the houses that Shani has aspect on, you will see that Shani in the 3rd house will basically make the person very lucky. But still, being a planet of slowness, even in the matter of 12th house, for example, even in the matter of 12th house, I said Shani aspect in 12th house will make the person give a lot. But Shani's nature is slow, so it will happen slowly, it will start slowly. And especially for the 3rd house, because Shani is there in that house, he will just slow down that house. The house of initiative, it becomes very sluggish. So, this person will be, or I especially in Sanidasa, usually I am lazy, but in Sanidasa I am particularly lazy. Once I start something, I'll just finish it. But to start, I have to basically think about it many times. Okay, I'll do it, and then finally I will start. And once I start it, it just gets done. Even for example, my book, I started writing in 98 or so. For 3 years, I wrote like 10 pages or something. And then once I decided, okay, now I will finish it, within 1.5 months, the whole book was written. So similarly, in the matter of knowledge, when it comes to things relating to knowledge, I am very lazy. But luckily, even though I am lazy, things will come easily. That is what Shani's 3rd house placement will show.
Shani aspects 4th house, right?
Shani? No, it does not. No.
I thought 4, 7 and 10.
No, 3, 7, 10.
3, 7.
Mars aspects 4, 8 and
4,
12. So here, there is an interesting thing. You can see that Mars has an aspect on 3rd house. Mars has an aspect on the 3rd house. So because Mars has an aspect on the 3rd house, Mars is the planet of aggression, and he is the Karaka for 3rd house. Mars is the Karaka, significator for initiative, aggression, the drive. So because the motivation, because Mars is the Karaka and he has aspect on it, basically it's like he is the project manager. Karaka is, the analogy I gave is project manager. For the project of drive and motivation in the matter of learning, in things relating to learning, Mars is the project manager for having drive. And he has a desire to do that. So a project manager himself wants to write code relating to a particular piece. That piece will easily be done. Nobody will object. So because of that, even though Shani is giving sluggishness, Mars is giving aggression. So there are mixed results. Shani and Mars are two extremes. And both the extremes have an influence on the 3rd house. So because of that, sometimes I am lazy. Sometimes when I want to do something, when I start it, I just finish it off. Even if it's a really, really big task. Even if it takes a year for somebody to do, I can do that in a couple of months. But I don't start. I first have to start. That is basically the problem. However, this is basically the Satya. I'm talking about my real initiative that is inside me, my real sluggishness, my real laziness. These are all real things. People around me will not really know that. As far as people around me are concerned, what do they see? How do they judge my drive, my initiative? No, not Triyarudha. Triyarudha is things using which they judge my initiative. The books I write, the lectures I give, based on all these tangible things, they make judgment on my initiative. But it's not my initiative itself. My initiative is from the 3rd house, but not from Lagna, but from Arudha Lagna. Because Arudha Lagna is what people think of me. The 3rd from Arudha is what people think of my initiative. It is the initiative of my image. Arudha Lagna is my image. And 3rd from Arudha Lagna is the initiative, the drive of not me, but my image. And when I say image, it's not like it's an artificial thing. It is something that I am projecting. My Lagna Lord, being in this particular house, made the Arudha be here. So because of the way I act, because of the way my consciousness is applied, that is the image I am projecting. It's not that people are stupid and they have that image. It is what is actually manifesting. That is why people have that image. So when I say image, don't think of it as artificial. It is artificial in a way, but it is also real. Because the whole world is artificial. So, if you want to see what people think of my initiative, what people think of my drive, look at this house. Third from Arudha Lagna. Now, what kind of sign is that? Who owns that sign? Mars. So Mars owns that sign. And does Mars have any influence on that house? Does he have an Argala or something? Yes. Mars in the second house from this house has an Argala on it. We discussed Argalas in a previous class, a couple of classes, and we saw examples. And I said that Argalas are very decisive influences. And here, because Mars has an Argala, he has a decisive influence relating to my drive. And also the sign itself, Aries is a fiery sign, an Agnidasi. So people, when they look at me, especially in the matter of knowledge, writing, reading, teaching, in all these matters relating to learning, people somehow think that I am a very, very, very aggressive person. People think that I have aggressive instincts and also I am very, very determined, I am very forceful, but that's not really me. I have to struggle a lot before I actually start because of Shani in the third house. But people don't really know it. My laziness is hidden inside me. Only I know about my laziness. For people, I'm not really a lazy person. People think, oh, he's writing software, astrology software, he's writing a book, he's teaching, how can he do so many things? He has such a strong motivation. So that is basically from Aries and Mars. So I hope it's a little bit clear, the distinction between third from Lagna and third from Arudha. When you are looking at somebody, you are not looking at his third house. If you are judging his third house, you are looking at the third from his Arudha Lagna. Now A3, yes, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, I thought we were doing Dasha, so do you want to go into the...
No, we are not actually doing Dasha. We are doing Arudha, and we are using Dasha as a tool. Instead of saying moon will give this result, if I show in moon under Dasha this happened, it will become a little bit clearer. So I opened the
I was
Dasha.
just wondering how Pratyanta would play the role of timing it actually.
Let's not go there. Let's not go there. Because Pratyantara again will be going to Lagna. Let's not go there. We'll do it when we do Dasha. Yes, Kiran?
For 6 exams, but the not sure one chapter, but from benefit of others, I'm sure I can count.
Okay.
Learning from my own perspective has been very difficult.
Yeah.
I really have to put in like superhuman effort to getting small things in, but once we get in, the foundation has been laid.
Yeah.
Now, what are the things that I need to look for in terms of that to figure this one out?
You can look at everything, every planet, every house, every Arudha, but it depends on what you are interested in. If you are, for example, looking at a particular period, like I did here, you can look at what is the Antardasha running then, and what are the Arudhas that particular planet who rules the Antardasha is associated with. What are the Arudhas where it is placed, what are the Arudhas on which it has Argala. So those things you can see. And then, if you don't have a specific period of time in mind, but if you just want to see what kind of, whether it's a smart person or not, how good one is in learning, look at the strength of Lagna, look at the strength of 5th house. 5th house is the house of abilities. If you want to learn abilities, you need to have abilities. So 5th house is an important house in any chart, especially in Siddhamsa. So look at the strength of Lagna, look at the strength of 5th house, and also look at the strength of 4th house. Because 4th house is the basic house for learning. And this is the chart of learning, for God's sake. So we have to give a lot of importance to 4th house. See what are the influences on 4th house. Based on it, you know what kind of learning one does and what is one's attitude towards learning. See, for example, look at my chart. First look at Lagna. Is Lagna strong? Is Lagna strong?
Yes, strong.
Lagna Lord Maitri is in a trine. He is in 5th house. And trines, like I said, are the house of blessings. Quadrants are the house of effort because they are Vishnu sthanas. Trines are Lakshmi sthanas. They are the houses of blessings, fruits from past good karma. So if a planet is in quadrant, it shows lot of effort, good effort. It will give good results, but with effort. And planets in trines, trikonas, they show lot of blessings, things that come very easily. So here Mercury in a trine So Lagna is quite strong. And what about the fifth house? Is it strong? Where is the fifth? Who is in the fifth house? Mercury. Is he a good planet for me? Because he is Lagna Lord, he is a very good planet. So fifth house is blessed by Mercury. And what about the Lord of that house? Because he is after all the boss. Where is the fifth Lord? Venus. He is in 6, 7, 8, 9. He is in the ninth house. So he is in another trine. So Lagna Lord is in fifth house, fifth Lord is in another trine. So this basically shows the fifth and Lagna and fifth are quite strong. So the person is, the inherent foundation is there, and also the abilities are quite there. So basically this is the chart of a reasonably intelligent person, a smart person who is capable of learning things. What kind of things does he learn? Now, and what is his attitude in learning? Look at the fourth house. Look at what are the influences on learning. What are the influences? Who are the planets in fourth house? Ketu and Rahu. Rahu shows research, engineering, advanced engineering, abstract knowledge. For example, electronics, all these things are shown by Rahu. And Ketu shows spiritual, adhyatmika knowledge. So he shows spiritual knowledge. And the Lord of the fourth house, Mercury, if you see, he also has Argala on the fourth house. Mercury is in the second from fourth. So if you take fourth house as the center, being in the second from there, Mercury has an Argala. If the Lord of a house has Argala on the same house, that means he has a strong influence on that house. So Mercury also shows what kind of learning I have. What kind of learning does Mercury show? Mathematics. Pardon me? Journalism, communications, writing skills, and also mathematics, software. These are the things that Mercury shows. So that is another influence. And finally, another important influence is you can't ignore Jupiter in this chart, because he gives a Mahapurush Yoga, Hamsa Mahapurush Yoga. He is in one house in a quadrant. So he gives Hamsa Mahapurush Yoga, and he is in the house of karma. By karma I mean karma relating to knowledge. For example, teaching all of you astrology is my karma. This is an activity. This is not my profession, but this is a karma, this is an activity I am performing in society. So it is from the 10th house. So Meena Guru shows this particular karma relating to traditional knowledge and astrology. And he has aspect on 4th house. So astrological learning is also quite possible. So these are the various kinds of learning that I will be engaged in. So from the 4th house you can see what kind of learning, and from Lagna and 5th house you can see the abilities, the overall abilities and the potential of that person. And then looking at dashas and what are the houses involved with dashas, what are the arudhapadas involved with antardashas, you can say when what will happen. And we also did several examples of D24 a couple of classes earlier. And there what I did, if you remember, I just looked at the chart. There were specific houses that were standing out because there were 3 planets in that house or 4 planets in that house. So we used that particular house and which house lords are in that house, and using that we judge what is the result of that yoga. For example, in Swami Aurobindo's case, we saw a lot of occult knowledge and moksha relating to learning. So like that, when you see a specific combination, a specific yoga, when you see a specific house standing out, you can, instead of looking at everything else, you can directly go to that house, and then you can make judgments relating to that house. Now let me give another example, D20. What is D20? Does anybody remember? Yes. Religious and spiritual activities. Religious activities and spiritual growth. Right? If you look at the handout I gave on divisional charts a few classes earlier, D20 is the chart of spirituality, spiritual growth. So, what is the ability needed for spiritual growth? We want to see what the 5th house in D20 shows. Right? So, 5th house, I said, the basic meaning of 5th house in any chart is ability. So, in the matter of spiritual growth, what are the abilities that you need? What is the ability that will lead to your spiritual growth? Can somebody take a guess? Discipline, yes. Knowledge is good, but knowledge is important for Siddhi. Siddhamsa D24, that is the chart of knowledge and Siddhi, the moksha you get because of knowledge. Gnana is from Siddhamsa D24, the knowledge, the learning. Here it's not just learning, it is understanding how the universe is functioning. It is understanding of the God within you. This is the spirituality chart, not just learning. You can see learning also, but this is purely spiritual chart, spiritual learning. Sadhana, this is the chart of sadhana. So what is the ability that you need? For doing sadhana, for doing spiritual experiments or spiritual growth, what you need is devotion. Devotion is the only ability that you need. If you have devotion, everything will come. You don't have to be a smart person. If you are a smart person, you will learn more things. You will learn more shastras. But to be a really advanced spiritual soul, you don't need knowledge. There may be a rickshawala, a rickshaw driver, who may be spiritually very advanced. He may not know anything, but he may have seen the God within himself and the God within other people, and he may have realized how all these gods are the same as the God outside. And he may have even merged with that God, for all you know.
This is bhakti and devotion.
Bhakti, that's the word. Bhakti and devotion. Those are the abilities that you need for spiritual growth. The discipline, the devotion, those are bhakti, those are the things. So the fifth house in D20 will show the devotion, the bhakti of a person. That is the house of bhakti. Now, what does the arudha of fifth house show? What does the arudha of the fifth house show? No. Fifth house from arudha lagna shows perceived bhakti. Because arudha lagna of this person is the perceived person from the spiritual point of view. And the fifth from arudha lagna shows the devotion of the image. That means the perceived image, perceived devotion. What people think of one's bhakti is seen from the fifth from arudha lagna. But if you see the arudha pada of the fifth house itself, A5, that is basically how the devotion is rising, how the devotion is being visible, tangible. What are the things that rise materially, using which you can see, you can judge one's devotion. So if somebody is doing a particular puja, a particular homam, a particular spiritual activity, is that A5? Yeah. Using the homa that he is doing, for example, on January 28, 1994, I started doing Lakshmi's 108 names 108 times. And then that is basically, if I say I have bhakti to Lakshmi, you don't know what it is. It's not tangible. If I say on so and so day, I started reading Lakshmi's 108 names on every Friday for 108 times. I started that on so and so day, and I've been doing it since then. If I say that, is it a tangible thing? Yeah. It is a tangible thing. It is Maya. It does not have anything to do with my bhakti. Before that I may have more bhakti. After I started that puja, I may have less bhakti. So it does not have anything to do with my bhakti, but that is the only way in which you can see my bhakti. I came to a particular Vishnu Sahasranamam. People are doing Vishnu Sahasranamam, Akhanda Vishnu Sahasranama Parayanam. Without breaking, people are doing it for, let's say, a day or day and a half. I come here, I put a night out, I stay there, I read Vishnu Sahasranam. People see it and say, okay, he has bhakti. So those are the things using which people will judge my bhakti. The homas I do, the pujas I do, the procedures I follow, the mantras I recite. Using these, people form an impression about my bhakti. So that is A5. Whether people think I am a bhakta or not is not from A5. That is from the fifth from AL. Fifth, because AL itself is, AL alone is me, the perceived me. So the fifth from there is the abilities of perceived me.
Fifth from AL or fifth from A5?
No, fifth from AL. AL is me, the image of me. So how I am manifesting, how I am being tangible to people. I become tangible to people by an image they have in their mind. When they think of PVR or Narasimha Rao, they think of a particular person, a particular knowledge, a particular devotion, a particular karma that he is doing, a particular job, a particular title. People have a particular image in their mind. So that is AL. And fifth from AL is abilities of that image. So people think, oh, this person is very devoted. He is a Lakshmi Bhakta. He is a Bhakta of Lakshmi. Then that is people's image. So that is from the fifth from AL. On the other hand, if you look at the Arudha of fifth house itself, not Lagna, but fifth house itself, it's not my image. It is the image of my devotion. It is basically how my devotion is being manifested. How my devotion is rising. Arudha means risen one. How it is rising so that people can see it. So, somehow or the other people get an image that I am a Bhakta. That is from the fifth from Arudha. But people have a particular thing on the floor using which they can judge whether I am a Bhakta or not. which is typically used for judging whether I am a bhakta or not. That is my puja. I tell people, I do, for example, I do Sri Suktam every day. Oh, he reads Sri Suktam every day. Or let's say I say I do Satnarayana Vratam every Purnima day. Oh, he's a Satnarayana bhakta. He has bhakti for Satnarayana. He does Satnarayana puja. So again, that particular puja I am doing is a tangible thing.
But are both of them related?
Pardon me?
Are both of them related? Because even
Usually they are related.
because what is rising is what leaves the image.
What leaves the image? Absolutely. So typically there is a link between the two. Typically one contributes to the other, but sometimes there is an exception. For example, one particular actor may get an award, a Filmfare award for a particular role. People may say, oh gosh, it's politics. He got the award. He does not deserve it. So what that means is, in that case, the rising is there. The A5, if you look at the rising of the ability, the manifestation of the ability, which is basically the Filmfare trophy, that is A5. It is there. So maybe Antardasha of a planet who is in A5 is running. But maybe the planet is inimical to the fifth house from AL. Maybe there are some political planets involved. So people think, oh, it's all politics. He does not deserve it. So whether people think that person is able or not is from the fifth from AL. And the thing that is there, which is typically an image, typically a measure of the abilities, but not necessarily always, but typically a measure of abilities, that is A5. So the trophy, the Filmfare trophy is A5. In my case, in the case of spirituality, my real bhakti I have for the god or goddess is my fifth house. Nobody can see it. Nobody understands it. Even I understand it only partly. Nobody understands it correctly. That is my real fifth house. And the A5 is the pujas that I do, the mantras I recite, the procedures I follow, the rituals I perform, the homas I attend or perform. Those are A5. Using which people judge your bhakti, typically. Or even if people don't judge, basically those are how your bhakti manifests in a material way, in a tangible way, in the material world. And the fifth from AL is what kind of bhakti you have that people think. It is people's image.
And what does fifth from A5 give you in this case?
Fifth from A5 does not show anything.
Anything in this?
Anything, yeah.
Fifth,
Fifth from AL only shows things. Fifth from A5 can be used to see the things relating to the trophy that a Filmfare trophy that an actor might have won. So you can see houses from Arudhas also, but let's ignore them.
so that is in general, is it
In general, we ignore it.
X from any AX is same thing. X house from any AX.
We usually don't use
We
it.
don't use it.
Yeah. Because A5 is not my ability. It's not my image. It's the image of my ability. It's a trophy or it's a puja. So if you want to see why there is a break to somebody's puja, you may want to look at the 8th house from A5. Because A5 is one's puja. It is not my devotion any longer. It is the puja that I am doing. It has its own consciousness. The puja that I am doing, it is an entity by itself that is independent of me. So if you want to take that entity and judge things relating to that entity, then you can look at A5. For example, suppose I want to do Satnarayana Vratam on a day, on a Purnima. Suppose there was a big, but suppose there is a big problem and it could not be done. Then you can see that you can take A5 as the reference and then take houses from there, because A5 is my puja. So there was a break to my puja. So then you can see houses from A5. So you can, technically speaking, you can take houses from Arudhas. But the thing is, they don't show things relating to me. They show things relating to my trophy, my scores, my pujas, my books, all these things. Right? On the other hand, AL is an exception. It still shows me. It shows what people think of me. So if you take houses from AL, it shows modifications. It shows basically qualities of me, but in people's minds. Lagna's houses show qualities of me, my qualities, my qualifications, and Arudha Lagna's houses show qualities of my image. That means my qualities in people's perception. And Arudhas, various other Arudhas, they show other things that surround me, my trophies, my pujas, etc. And houses from there show their fortunes. The fortune of my puja, the fortune of my other things. Okay, we'll stop the recording. I'll actually. So, in the future, I will not be basically sending mails to all the people. I'll make sure that the latest handout is on the website. Usually I'll try to do it by Wednesday. So on Thursday or Friday, you just go to the site vedicastro.home.comcast.net. You can go there and download the latest PDF file, and if you miss any class, you can go there and download the audio file. Okay, let's continue the discussion. So here, if you look at A5, if you look at the A5 here, what are the influences on A5? I said that the permanent influences that are always there are shown by Rashi Drishti, I said. Graha Drishti shows desires, and Argala shows something temporary but very decisive influence. And here, where is first, where is A5? This is Lagna, Taurus Lagna. Fifth house is here, and the Arudha of fifth house, A5 is in Dhanus. Now, who are the planets associated with this? Who are the planets who are aspecting this? First, let's see Rashi Drishti. Who are the planets? Mars, Venus, Sun, and Mercury. Mercury shows Vishnu. Mars shows Hanuman. Sun shows Shiva. And Venus shows Lakshmi. And out of all these planets, who is strong? Who is the strongest? You may be tempted to say that Mercury is the strongest because he is in one house. That is true. But debilitated planets are the strongest in Vimsamsa. Venus is the strongest. Because normally we consider debilitation to be bad. Because debilitation, the analogy I gave, I said exaltation is akin to Purusha Prakriti and debilitation is akin to Stri Prakriti. And Purusha Prakriti is basically Ahankara, the very existence, and Stri Prakriti is persistence, the patience. So I said that exalted planets are akin to people who are very proud, very excited. And usually if a planet is excited, that means it is carrying good fortune, and whatever results it promises, it will give them very easily. But in case the results cannot be given easily, the exalted planet is not capable of giving them. It is basically in trouble. On the other hand, debilitated planet is akin to somebody who is not very excited, who is a little unhappy, but who is working very hard, who can give results only by working hard. So, debilitated, and in the matter of spirituality, what we need is the ability to work hard. We were born as human beings because there is a problem with us. We separated from the Paramatma. And in order to merge back with the Paramatma, the only way is persistence, patience, and devotion. So, more than the Purusha Prakriti of Ahankara, Stri Prakriti of persistence and patience are more important in the matter of Vimsamsa. So, it's not true in all other charts, but in Vimsamsa, this is a very, very auspicious thing. If a planet is in debilitation in a chart, you have to realize that that planet is actually stronger than other planets. Don't think that it is bad. It is bad. If you see somebody like Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, the ISKCON, the founder of ISKCON, he has 3 or 4 debilitated planets in his Vimsamsa. You may think, oh, he has a spoiled Vimsamsa, but it actually shows a lot of devotion, lot of patience. And here, because Venus is debilitated, that means a lot of patience and devotion to submitting basically. Stri Prakriti is submitting. Purusha Prakriti is Ahankara. So debilitated planets in Vimsamsa show submission. So submission to Lakshmi. Lakshmi is the goddess who stands out. And then Mercury, being in one house, Mercury is also quite strong. So these are the strongest planets. Right? Vishnu and Lakshmi. Lakshmi and Narayana.
Narasimhaji, I remember Sanjay Varji made a comment that debilitation is good in Dashansha also. Is that...
Not in the same context though.
No, okay.
Not in the same context. In Dashansha is the chart of karma, right? So again, even in Dashansha, if you are patient and if you are working hard, it is good for you. In the matter, because it's basically the chart itself is the chart of working. Dashansha is the chart of delivering for the society. And if a planet is debilitated there, again that is good. That shows lot of practical thinking and also working hard. So it is good in Dashansha also. But there is a difference. Here this is basically submitting to the particular deity, whoever the deity is. So Venus, so Lakshmi Puja is one of the important things. Lakshmi Bhakti is one of the important things. And here one interesting thing you can see is from Lagna, the planets who are in the 5th house, they are all aspecting A5. 5th house is the real bhakti and A5 is the mantras that you read. So whoever gods I have real bhakti too, I will recite their mantras. There is link between the manifestation and the reality inside. So that means there is a correlation, but it doesn't have to be so. And in that case, A5 is basically what shows one's mantras, one's externally manifest mantras and procedures, rituals. And here, let's take, for example, Shani Dasha, let's say Shani Dasha, Guru Antardasha. So from 1992 till 1994, December 25, I was running Shani Dasha, Guru Antardasha. Okay. Now, in Guru Antardasha, is there a chance of starting some new puja or reciting a new mantra? Is there a chance? Let us see that. Why is there?
Because it's related to Guru.
Yes. Yes.
A5.
But let's forget Guru. Guru is the karaka for mantras. That is a separate thing. But let's look at fifth house and A5. I said fifth house is devotion and A5 is manifested devotion. That is mantras, procedures, puja. So A5, where is it?
Jupiter is actually the house of
Is the owner of the
He is the owner of that house. And does he have any other influence like Argala? Jupiter has 11th house Argala on this house. All the planets in the 11th house from a house have Argala on it, if you recall. So Jupiter is the Lord who is having Argala on that. So what that means is, during Jupiter Antardasha, there is an extremely strong chance, there is a very strong chance of
right, something new coming up in the world of A5, Arudha,
right.
which is new mantras or new
Yeah,
pujas.
mantras will flourish or a new mantra can start. So during that time the mantra started. And Jupiter is in Venus Rashi. If you see Jupiter, he is in a sign of Venus. And so he is basically at the disposal of Venus. And Venus has an interest in A5 because he has Rashi Drishti. Out of all those planets, Mercury, Mars, Sun and Venus, all the planets have an interest in A5. They want me to do different mantras. But because Jupiter, who is the key planet for A5, he is under Venus influence, Venus will dominate. So during Jupiter Antardasha, I started reading Lakshmi's mantra. I started, not mantra but it's a sloka, Lakshmi, 108 names, reading 108 times every Friday. I started then. And actually, you were asking about Prachanda Dasha here. It was on 94 January 28, the Prachanda Dasha was of Venus, actually. But let us do Prachanda Dasha later. You can just do Dashas and Antardasha. And during the same Jupiter Antardasha, can you guess what happened in learning? What are the Arudhas that Jupiter is associated with? Can you see what are the Arudhas that Jupiter is associated with? So in the same Jupiter Antardasha, let's see what happened to learning. So what are the Arudhas? Jupiter is in Meena. What are the Arudhas there? A8 and A7. A7 is, what does A7 stand for? 7th house is basically desire and meeting people. And A7 is the actual meetings. 7th house is interaction with people. That interaction happens within you, within your brain, within your heart. So 7th house from Lagna is the interaction with people as perceived by your own heart, as perceived by, as it exists within you. But A7 is the manifestation. So that is meetings with people. So during Jupiter Antardasha, the person can meet with people, Jupiter-like people. It can be meetings. And also there is A8 there. There is A8. And you have to realize that Saturn is the Karaka, Saturn is the Lord of 8th house. Saturn being the Lord of 8th house, within Sanidasha, the 8th house results are likely to be given. And within that, as far as the Antardasha is concerned, I said you have to look at Arudha. So if you look at A8, it is Jupiter. Jupiter is there. So in Sanidasha, Guru Antardasha, because of Shani owning the 8th house and Jupiter owning A8 and also occupying A8, Jupiter has a very strong influence on A8. So what does A8 stand for? 8th house is disturbances. It is also the house of death basically. A8 is called Mrityupada. So it is manifestation of the brain. So A8 can be, it can also be manifestation of occult knowledge. 8th house is occult knowledge. So A8 can be manifested occult knowledge. And it can also be Mrityu to knowledge. Because 8th house is the house of ending. 8th house is the house of troubles, tensions, anxiety, and also end. So A8 is basically, it is a manifested end. So when I am reading something, I may be very perturbed. There may be a lot of breaks. I may not be able to do it smoothly. that will be seen from the 8th house from Lagna. But the 8th house from the Arudha of the 8th house, A8, it shows something tangible, a tangible problem. So that can be a break in education. So somebody's education may come to a halt. If you see a planet influencing A8 in Siddhamsa, during that period, there can be a break in education. Similarly, if you see a planet influencing A8 in Dashamsa, you can see in that Antardasha, you can see breaks in career also. So here, Saridasha, Jupiter Antardasha, is there a chance of break in learning, break in education? Yes. And during actually, in 1993 July, I basically finished my master's and I stopped my education. I did not go for PhD. I stopped with masters and started working. So you can see that Jupiter being in AA, he gave ending of the formal pursuit of knowledge. And also, Jupiter is the Karaka for Vedic knowledge. And Meena is a very sattvic and peaceful sign. It is the sign of Maharshis. And A8 is the manifestation of occult knowledge. So Jupiter being in Meena in A8 can also give astrological knowledge of occult subjects. Very traditional, not very tantric kind of subjects. A8 can be tantric also. 8th house is occult knowledge. Occult knowledge can be astrology, can be palmistry, can be numerology, can even be some tantras. Some very tamasic tantras also are possible. But here, because it is Jupiter and Meena, both sattvic planet and sattvic Rashi, it is basically knowledge of the Maharshis. Some occult knowledge relating to Maharshis and relating to tradition. So during this Antardasha, there is also a chance that astrological knowledge, learning occult knowledge will pick up. So it was actually during that time after I went back to India after my master's, and I spent around 6 months with my father, and then I started working. So during that time I learned from my father, and even after that I've been pursuing astrology in my free time. And that was basically the starting of, I started learning astrology when I was very young. When I was maybe 6 or 7, I knew the first lessons of astrology. But the problem is every summer I used to learn and every winter I used to forget. So I used to learn, I was very naive. For example, there is something called Ashtakavarga, there are formulas for deciding how long you will learn. I applied the formulas bluntly, brute force, I applied the formulas without any subtlety, and I found the date and the time when I will die. My father would say, "Are you mad? This doesn't work, don't do these things." So I used to go very seriously because I would have nothing to do in summer. Very seriously learn a particular thing, read the books that were at home, and then apply it, do all kind of calculations by hand. So in summer I used to become a good astrologer. By winter I used to just totally forget it because there was no continuity. But it was in 93 that I started being very serious about it, and the continuity started there. And you can see that Jupiter Antardasha is extremely conducive. And again, the fact that Saturn is the 8th lord, it is conducive. It is also conducive because 8th house is the house of occult knowledge. And when you look at Mahadashas, I said Arudhas don't play a big role. The lordship plays a big role. So Shani is being the 8th lord and Guru being in AA. Shani Guru is the perfect combination. Shani the Mahadasha, Guru Antardasha. That is the perfect combination for giving a boost to occult pursuit of this particular person or me. So that was a very crucial period. But when Mercury Dasha, Jupiter Antardasha comes later, or Ketu Dasha, Jupiter Antardasha comes later, still there can be important events relating to occult knowledge pursuit. But this is the key because Shani is also very conducive. And now,
one question.
Yeah.
This Antardasha is from 92 to 94.
Right.
But you started from 93 and it continued.
Yeah. Basically,
from the
it has
top.
to be triggered. It has to be triggered by the.
So that period is only showing the trigger, but it's not showing that the continuation is there.
That is the period, that is the 2-year period when that particular Arudha will rise and will manifest. And exactly when that will happen, so further, you have to look at the Prachanda Dashas also. For example, if you look at Ketu here, Ketu is the Karaka for spiritual knowledge. And here, Ketu is having Ketu is having Rashi Drishti on Jupiter, and he is in the house of learning. So because of that, the Lagna, when especially the process of learning is associated with 4th house. And when you look at Prachanda Dashas, you have to always look from Lagna. So from Lagna, Ketu is in the 4th house of learning, and he is aspecting Jupiter, he is being aspected by Jupiter. So the formal learning of astrology, which Jupiter Antardasha promises, can take place during that particular Prachantardasha. And there are actually procedures to even go up to 6 levels. There is something known as Dehantardasha, Prachantardasha, Sukshmantardasha, Pranantardasha, Dehantardasha. It can be basically a few hours period. So if you have the time very accurately, and in my own case, even if the time is accurate, the dashas for some reason have a slight error. So by adding a day to the calculations, I could explain various events in my life up to the hours. I did that at one of the workshops in New Jersey last year. We'll do it later, but there are formulas. Unfortunately, we can't use them because all the calculations are off by several days in real charts. And if you have 1 minute of error in the birth time, suppose somebody is, there is a formula, I will not go through the formula, but I will just give the number. Suppose somebody was running Venus Dasha at birth, and suppose there was 1 minute of error in the birth time, then 1 times 20 divided by 4. There will be 5 days, is it days or months? I forgot the formula. 5 months. Yeah, there is 5 months of error in the calculation.
But the pattern follows.
For me?
Even if the 5 months is displacement.
Yeah, the pattern will be followed. So you have to look at some things that happened in your life and then correct the days, correct the epoch basically. It is all shifted. Once you shift it correctly, everything will fall in place. But until things are not shifted, something seems to be right, something don't seem to be right, and they seem to be right only at a macro level. When you use Antardasha, it seems right. When you use Prachantardasha, some of them seem right, some of them don't. When you go to Sukshmantardasha, it's all noise. That is what you can expect in real charts. And if you carefully do rectification, for example, luckily I have computer. In my computer, I just say change everything by these many days, minutes, and hours. It corrects it, and then I can say on so and so date at so and so time when I got married, for example, August 1, 1993, 9:30 p.m. What was the Dehantardasha running? If I say that, software will automatically find up to Dehantardasha. It will list it. I can see if it makes sense or not and rectify. So luckily we have computers. But grandfather of my guru, Pandit Sanjay Rath, his grandfather is Pandit Jagannath sir. He did not have any computers with him, but he used to take simple daily events like on this day at so-and-so time he took a train and went in northwestern direction. On so-and-so date at so-and-so time he got married. So looking at these exact times of the events, he would do all this shifting that you talked about, and then he used to find the exact degree and minutes and seconds of moon that should be used for the dasha, the accurate rectified dasha, and then he used to use them for making very, very precise predictions. And this used to take him a day, almost a day, to do this rectification. Whereas in my own chart, I spent a couple of hours to get it perfectly aligned. So that is the thing, but we will go through it later. We will go through dashas, and it's not very important to be so good that you can see what will happen during a particular hour. It's not really important, but it's not very easy also. If there is some small mistake that you made, everything will go wrong. So let us concentrate on dashas and antardashas, and like you asked, it is a 2-year period. It can happen during any part of that period. So by going up to Prachantardashas, you can have reasonable accuracy, so that should be enough. But the lesson that you should remember is, when you use antardashas, pay attention to arudhas. Any planet that occupies an arudha or has argala and an arudha will tend to give results relating to that arudha in that particular antardasha. We saw several examples. We'll see more examples later. But I want to see, a couple of you requested me to use their example charts as examples. So I will see your chart. Unfortunately, my computer is not working. There was a problem. It has to go for service, so I have to make the chart. Can you give me the data?
Yes. I was born June 13, 1949.
June 13, 1-3.
1-3.
Yeah?
1949.
Yeah?
And 10:55 a.m. It was a Monday.
Okay, we'll figure that out.
And Palayam Kota is the town. It's
Palayam?
Palayam Kottai.
Palayam.
Yeah.
76 East. Okay, the data is June 13, 1949, 10:55 a.m. Palayam, India. The longitude and latitude are 76 East 55.
Palayam could be different. Palayam Kottai. Make sure it comes up. I've seen that in your thing.
Palayam Kottai, yes.
Yeah.
The place is actually Palayam Kottai.
Yeah.
The longitude and latitude are 77 East 44 and 8 North 43. So those who are listening to the CD, you can make chart for this and then follow the rest of the discussion. So he wants us to use his chart as an example and then see certain things that he could not explain himself. So we'll try to do that in the next 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Okay, now, first let's look at Rashi chart because that is his physical existence. Is this, does this chart look right? Are you Simhalagna?
Yeah, Simhalagna, that's right.
Simhalagna with Shani in it?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure that I did not make AM instead of PM or something.
No.
Okay. So it's basically right.
Yeah.
So moon is in Dhanu Rashi.
That's right.
Okay. Okay, now, first let us look at Rashi chart. Okay? Okay. Lagna is the essence of a person. That is a person's very existence. The physical existence, essence of one's physical existence is Lagna in Rashi chart. So first give importance to Lagna. So what is the Lagna? Simhalagna. What can you say based on Simhalagna?
Sun is the ruler of the dress.
Sun is?
Sun is the master of the Rashi.
Right. Sun is the king of the planet. So basically, if somebody has Simhalagna, usually they have some kind of royal disposal or authoritative, basically respect creating. Respect, when you see them, you basically feel respect. So that is how they basically are. But the thing is, what you see of a person is not Lagna. Lagna is how a person is. But Arudha Lagna is what you see of a person. So here, where is Arudha Lagna? Vrishchika Rashi is Arudha Lagna. Vrishchika is basically, Vrishchika is a sign owned by Mars. If somebody has Vrishchika Arudha, basically the perception that they project to the people is, the image that they project to people is somebody who's aggressive, but not as aggressive as Aries. There is a difference between Aries and Scorpio. Aries and Scorpio are both ruled by Mars, but Aries is a fiery sign, it's an Agni Rashi. On the other hand, Scorpio is a Jala Rashi. It is a watery sign. So the difference is, in the case of Aries, it is the determination of fire. It is the determination akin to fire. In the case of Scorpio, it is determination akin to ice. It is determination basically, because it is a watery sign, it's not really, it does not look fiery. There is no fire around the person, but there is very cool determination, cool passion, cool determination. He is cool, it does not look like he is fighting or argumentative. In the case of Aries, the person, if somebody has Arudha Lagna in Aries, he may appear to be very argumentative, fighting, dishum kind of person. But with Scorpio, you will still think that the person is very determined, but he is rather cool about it, because it's a Jal Rashi. And second thing is, Scorpio is the 8th sign of the natural zodiac. 8th is basically hidden things. So Scorpio stands for hidden things. So the image that the person projects is that of somebody who is hiding something. When you see somebody has Arudha Lagna in Scorpio, because of the nature of Scorpio, you will get an image, you will get an impression that he is being shrewd or he is being cunning, he is not open. You don't get the image that the person is open. Even if he is very open and saying everything, you think that there is something else. There is always that shrouding of mystery about that person. You think that there is something about that person that you don't know. That is basically Arudha Lagna in Scorpio. Now, let us look at, for example, let's look at second house. Second house has Ketu in it. First, the thing is, we want to make sure that the chart is reasonably right. So, if you have any feedback, you are free to give the feedback. Okay. Now, Ketu in the second house. I don't know how many of you read the 108 names of planets, but if you read the 108 names of Ketu, if you get a Navagraha Stotram book, you will get all the Ashtotras. So, if you read the Ashtotar Hasanama Stotram of Ketu, one of the names is Vitiye Phutavagdata. What that means is Phutavagdata. Vitiye means in the second house. So, there are some astrological combinations given in that shloka. So, you can read that. Vitiye Phutavagdata. Phuta means clear, crystal clear. Vak means speech. Data means giver. So, if Ketu is in the second house, he gives very clear speech. Usually some Purohits who are supposed to have a nice kantham, they have Ketu in the second house. It's a very clear bronze like of voice. So those people are not like, they don't, when they talk, it's not like, yeah, I think so. They don't talk like that. That is not them. They are like this. They speak like this. It's so clear. So, those of you who heard him speak will probably realize that it's basically true. And especially it helps that Ketu is in Mercury's house. Because Mercury and Jupiter are Karakas of speech. So, had the same Ketu been elsewhere, in the house of an enemy or something, then there can be some problems in speech. Even though he is supposed to give Sputavak, there can be still some problems. Here, Mercury's house is the second house and Ketu is there. So, undoubtedly this person is very eloquent, very good at expressing himself, and more than expression comes from Mercury. Mercury being the second house, from that expression comes. He is good at expressing himself. And Ketu being there will mean the voice is very clear, very crystal clear. Now, Shani, what do you say about Shani? Shani is in Lagna. Is he a good planet or bad planet for this Lagna?
Sun and Saturn don't get along.
Yeah, Sun and Saturn don't get along. So he is an inimical sign. That is a different matter. But apart from that, what house is the Shani one? Is he a good planet for this Lagna? What is his agenda? Is his agenda conducive to Lagna or opposing Lagna? What is Shani's agenda? One's agenda is formed by what he wants. So Shani wants 6th and 7th houses. So 6th house, what does that show? Overcoming obstacles. Lot of obstacles. And we haven't done functional natures of planets yet, but we will do them later. For each Lagna, based on the houses owned, some planets are called functional benefits. Basically planets who are inclined to do good things. And certain planets are called functional malefics. Planets who are inclined to do bad things to that person. And when we do that, you will realize that because he owns 6th house, which is a bad house, and 7th house is a neutral house, when we do that, you will understand why. So because of that, for Leo Lagna, Simha Lagna, Shani is considered a malefic, a functional malefic. He is a papi. He is a papagraha for that particular Lagna. On the other hand, if somebody has Kumbha Lagna, Shani is not a papagraha, he is a Shubhagraha. His agenda is conducive to Lagna. But here the agenda is not conducive to Lagna. And moreover, it's an inimical sign. He is in an inimical sign. So because the planet who is occupying Lagna is a functional malefic, it shows trouble. What kind of trouble? Slow and recurring trouble. Because it is Shani. Why did I say recurring? Because 6th house Lord. 6th house shows obstacles. So because the 6th Lord is in Lagna, there are constant obstacles. Always there are some obstacles or the other. Now, if Shani is carrying good karma from past life, if Shani is carrying punya from past life, then those obstacles will be auspicious. The person is always engaging in some good thing or the other. For example, look at Subba Rao Garu, the organizer of Soundarya Lahari. Yesterday he organized that nice Sofaraju concert. And then every now and then he keeps organizing homas. So if you look at his chart, I don't have his chart on this computer, but if you look at his chart, there must be a strong 6th house because he is always overcoming some obstacles or the other. He is always creating obstacles and overcoming those obstacles. So if somebody is a karma yogi, you may still see the same combination. This may also be the chart of a karma yogi. I'm not saying he is not a karma yogi. Basically, it shows a karma yogi who is always facing obstacles and overcoming them. But what is the nature of those obstacles? Is it something that he is enjoying, like in the case of Subba Rao Garu, all those homas, all those religious functions, cultural functions that he organizes? Is it something that he is enjoying and he is creating, or is it something that he is not enjoying? So to see that, you have to look at, it's not sufficient to look at what house he owns, what house he occupies. Look at the Shashtamsha Lord. The Lord of the Shashtamsha that this planet is occupying, that alone shows what is the kind of karma he is carrying. Shashtamsha is the karma you are carrying from past life. So if you look in this, in whose Amsha in D60, if you look at, make sure that you are selecting Shashtamsha. And to refresh you go to that view by clicking on Basics in the upper tab and key in Amsha Rulers in the bottom tab, and then in the pop-up menu, select D60. Then you will see the gods or the Amshas that are ruling that particular planet in that particular Amsha. So we saw some examples of how to use this in D10 in the other class. We saw Agni's Dashamsha, Indra's Dashamsha, what they mean, Kubera's Dashamsha. We saw those in the last class, and here I will show you how to use D60. So D60 is basically your overall karma, the karma that you are carrying. So here, what is the karma carried by Shani?
Sarpa.
Shani is in Sarpa Shashyamsa. What does Sarpa mean? Is it evil or beneficial? It's evil. It's basically it stands for snake. So if a planet in Sarpa Shashyamsa is giving trouble to a person, that gives results akin to a yoga known as Sapya Yoga. We'll see Sapya Yoga also in a future class when we do yoga in detail. But there is a yoga called Sapya Yoga. This gives results akin to that yoga. If a planet in Sarpa Shashyamsa is in Lagna. What that shows is, it's like you feel like you are coiled by a snake always. In other words, there is always constant trouble. So that is what Shani shows. And if you look here, Venus is in a good Shashyamsa. See Venus. What is the Shashyamsa occupied by Venus? Kshiti is a Shashyamsa. You know what Kshiti means? Earth. And Kshitisha means ruler of the earth. That is king. So Venus is in a Shashyamsa known as King Shashyamsa. Do you think it is beneficial or malefic? Benefit. It's very benefit. It shows power. It shows good responsibility, authority. So here Venus is the Lord of what house does he own? He is the 3rd and 10th house. And what is the house he occupies? 11th house. Now, is there a parivartana, exchange? Mercury and Venus are exchanging houses. So practically, Venus gives results as though he is in the 10th house. So basically, 10th house is owned and occupied by Venus for all practical purposes. So 10th house is quite strong. And the 10th Lord is in Kshiti Samsa. So basically, based on this, you will say that the person will be very successful in career. He will rise to good heights in the career. So it is very beneficial for the career. However, because Lagna is affected by Shani, basically Shani is always sitting on the head. Lagna is basically head. So basically the person will be successful, but Shani is always sitting on the head. So that is the main problem of that person. And now, are there any other planets who are in bad or very good amsas? Look at Sun, Lagna Lord. Lagna is basically your head and the circumstances that you face. Like I said earlier, Rasis are inanimate. So Rasis and houses show circumstances. So the circumstances that his existence has to face are that of Shani and Simha. But the application of his intelligence is shown by Lagna Lord. That is called Pakalagna. Lagna Lord is called Pakalagna. He shows your intelligence and your activities. Lagna is only the circumstance. And how you act in society, how you act, how you behave, how you think, how you feel, all these things are not from Lagna but from Lagna Lord. Because those feelings need consciousness. And consciousness comes from animate beings. That means planets. So Lagna Lord Sun, where is he? He is in the 10th house, but that's not the important point. What is the karma he is carrying? Good karma or bad karma? Devamsha, Deva Shashyamsha. He is carrying divine karma, godly karma. So, because of that, even though the person is subjected to constant Shani sitting on the head, the intelligence, the application of intelligence of that person is quite strong. It is very divine. So the person is very intelligent, very mature, maturity comes from Lagna Lord. For maturity, the Karaka is Jupiter and the important Lord is first Lord, the Lagna Lord. So the person has maturity and then the wisdom needed to overcome those troubles. And the person is quite intelligent because Sun is in Deva Shashyamsa. His intelligence gets the blessings of God. And then 12th house, look at 12th house. The 12th house is Cancer. The Lord of that house is Moon. So, and Moon is, where is Moon? Moon is in 5th house. He is in a very good house. He is in a trine. So that means 12th house will easily flourish. 12th house has the blessings of Lakshmi. But what is 12th house? House of losses. So the house of giving, house of losses has Lakshmi's blessings. And moreover, what is the ansha that Moon occupies? Shashyamsa. Amrita Shashyamsa. Amrita is nectar. It doesn't die basically. So he will always be giving. He will always, without any break, he will always be giving. He will be a great giver. This is a yoga. The 12th Lord being well placed and in a good Shashyamsa like Amrita Shashyamsa It's a yoga for being somebody like Karna or Shiva Chakravarti. It's basically yoga for having excellent dana guna, the ability to give things to people. So he's a good giver, very intelligent person, rises to great height, but always there is some nagging worry, some obstacle or the other to be overcome. Always some problem. Shani is sitting on the head. Now, let us look at Mars. Mars is, what houses does Mars own? The 4th house of mother and 9th house of father. Right? And Mars is in what amsa is he in? Vamsa Kshaya amsa. What does Vamsa Kshaya mean? Vamsa means lineage, family. Kshaya means decay. Kshaya means decay. So because those planets are in Vamsa Kshaya amsa, what that means is, it's not basically, let's not go into the detail, but it's not auspicious. What it shows is with respect to mother and father and family and elders in the family, there is some misfortune in the family. There is some trouble in the family. There is something blocking the growth of the family. Decay doesn't necessarily mean decay, everybody passing away or something. It means the family, for the growth of the family, there is some blockage. It's not able to grow. So there is some problem in the family. And another bad placement in this chart. See, overall the chart is pretty good. Even though Mars is in Vamsa Kshaya amsa, he is taking part in a nice Raj Yoga. You will see that the 9th Lord Mars is in 10th house. He is with Lagna Lord Sun and he is with 10th Lord Venus. The Mercury there, read him as Venus because Mercury and Venus have Parivatana. So Lagna Lord, 9th Lord and 10th Lord are together. That is Dharma Karmasbhati Yoga, Lakshmi Yoga. There is a great yoga. The person will be very dharmic, do his dharma in society very sincerely. It's on the whole, it's a very, very powerful chart. But Shani is one drawback. Shani in Sarpamsa sitting in Lagna. Another drawback is Rahu. Where is Rahu? 8th house. Is 8th house a good house for Rahu? What is the 8th house? 8th house is the house of occult knowledge. Yes. But let's go there later. Apart from occult knowledge, 8th house is the house of troubles, breaks, tension, anxiety. It is also the house of death. Longevity as well as death. If it is good, it will be longevity. If it is bad, it is death. It is called Mrityusthana also, 8th house. So 8th house is it's also a Dusthana if you remember. 6, 8 and 12 are Dusthana. So, Rahu is in the 8th house. Especially for Rahu, it is a bad house. 8th house shows sudden changes, tensions, etc. Rahu is the planet of the unexpected. He is the planet of cheating. So, Rahu being in the 8th house means by cheating or by unexpectedly there will be changes in life. There will be sudden tension. Suddenly something will come up. And then the person is deceived. And then there is a lot of tension. And then the person has to start something fresh. 8th house is the house of changes as well as tension. And if a planet like Mercury or Venus is there, it will be more controlled. But a planet like Mars or Rahu being in the 8th house means all those changes and tensions are very sudden. And especially in the case of Rahu, they have some shock associated with it. Mars just blows. He is basically aggressive and he shows injuries, etc. Shani shows sadness. Shani in the 8th house can show a lot of troubles which give sadness. Rahu shows shock. So if Rahu is in the 8th house, the person will have some shocks in life. There will be some shocks in life, especially when Rahu is active in the life. So, and moreover, if Rahu is in a good amsa, good shashtamsa, if he is carrying good karma from past life, then those results will be mitigated to a large extent. There will be some sudden changes, but they will not be so bad. But here, for example, somebody may suddenly be forced to leave father and mother and go to a guru, go to an ashram and be brought up there, and he may become a great saint because of it. So that can also be given by Rahu in the 8th house or Ketu in the 8th house. But here, what is the amsa that Rahu is in? What is the shashtamsa? Ghora shashtamsa. Do you know what Ghora means? It's the name of a demon, but basically, literally, Ghora means terrible, horrible. So, Rahu in the 8th house of troubles, Kashtasthana, is carrying a terrible karma from past life. There is a terrible karma that Rahu stands for. If you go to the chart known as Shashtamsa, you may be able to see what exactly that karma is. But let's not do that now. But there is some terrible karma from past life which is bound to give him some tension, some setbacks in life. And there is some evil that he did to other people, which is Shani in Sarpashashamsa, some sadness that he gave to other people, which is going to sit on his head as Shani and give constant obstacles in this life. But at the same time, he did some good karma in past life. Because of that, he will rise in career and be like a king. And he did some godly karma in past life, that is Sun in Devamsha. Because of that, he will have excellent wisdom, excellent maturity, and excellent intelligence. So this is basically how you can read the Rashi chart. Now let us see what is the area of life that you are most interested in. Career or money or
Health also.
health. Okay. He is interested in his current health. Overall, Rahu in the 8th house is not good for health. Overall, it doesn't show perfect health. But the good thing is, Lagna Lord Sun is strong. So there is fighting. Especially Sun is the only planet who is capable of fighting with Rahu. So because Lagna Lord is Sun, health will not be terrible, but there will be constant health troubles which are overcome because of Sun's strength. And then let's look at the dashas. Okay, let us look at dashas. What is the dasha that is running right now? Just give me a second. Yeah. So what I will do is, okay, I'm sorry about this, but dasha, Vinshatri dasha can be started from moon as well as lagna. Both are valid, and for some people lagna is more appropriate, for some people moon is more appropriate. And I did a little bit of calculation using the software help, and I found that lagna is actually stronger in his case. So we have to see Vinshatri dasha from lagna in his case. Yeah. When we see which, I will go through it later. If you see just Chandra Vinshatri dasha started from moon, things may not make a lot of sense. With this, things will make a lot of sense. So now dashas, right now what is the dasha he is running? Right, that is what I said just now. If you start the dashas from moon's nakshatra, then you get Guru dasha. But what I did is I started from Lagna's nakshatra, because Lagna is dominating in your case than moon. Usually people who are reactive, they have a strong moon. People who are proactive and who are very independent, they have strong Lagna. Lagna is your individuality. Moon is your mind as it reacts to the world. So in his case, he is less reactive and more than what people think. He thinks more about what he thinks. He is more independent. So because of that, Lagna is down, especially Simha Lagna. So he is very independent. So Lagna, because there are more planets in Canvas from Lagna, Lagna dominates over moon. So you get better results by taking Vinshatri dasha starting from Lagna's nakshatra. So what exactly you mean by starting from a particular nakshatra? All these things we will see later. So don't worry if you are confused. Bottom line is, there are hundreds of dashas to see when a particular planet will dominate in your life. And out of those, some are more appropriate for some people, some are more appropriate for some other people. And for him, a dasha known as Vinshatri dasha started from Lagna. You can do that from options. You can go to options and select the starting point. Janmatara, I started Lagna Sputa. And in the beginning, when you are not sure, you can try different things and whatever makes sense, you can use it. But the systematic rules, I will go through them later. So here, Rahu Vinshatri dasha is running. It started in 1995. So since 96, he is running Rahu dasha. Is the dasha good for him? For me? It's not a good dasha. Because Rahu is in the 8th house. And another thing, what is the pada Rahu is occupying? I said, when I say somebody is feeling tense, somebody has setbacks, again, as long as he is internally feeling the tension, that is seen from the houses from Lagna. But if he has a disease, if he has an illness, that is manifested physically. You can see it when you go to your doctor. If doctor sees that there is some problem, or if he has certain symptoms themselves are manifestations. They are tangible. So the tangible manifestation of the disease is not from the 6th house. What is the house you should see for that? 6th house is the house of disease and all other obstacles that you have to overcome. The actual disease, the tangible manifested disease is from A6. A6. So if you look at A6, A6 is also called Rogapada. So, or Satrupada. So if you look at A6, where is A6? Pardon me?
Basically controlled by Rahu.
A6 is in, Rahu is in A6. So basically, Rahu, now again I said, at the level of Dashas, Mahadashas, don't pay much attention to Paras, right? That is what I said. But the thing is, Rahu is a totally Maya planet. So even if you are talking about Rahu Dasha, because Rahu is a lunar planet, it's a pseudo planet that is derived from moon. It is more related to moon, it is more related to mind. And he does not want to obey the rules of Satya. Rahu is a totally Maya planet. And he hates sun. So he does not want to obey the rules of sun and Jupiter. He has different rules. That's why he's always going opposite the correct direction also. So when you are judging Rahu Dasha, you can actually put the rule that I said aside. And in general, when you are judging any Dasha, you can still look at the Paras, but especially here it is more appropriate. Because Rahu is in Rogapada, Rahu will project the Maya. Because Rahu is the planet of Maya and Ketu is the planet of breaking away from Maya and getting moksha, spirituality. And Rahu is the planet of materialism and Maya. So when Rahu's Dasha comes, he will definitely promote the Arudhas that he is associated with. And here Rahu is associated with, unfortunately, Rogapada, A6. So because of that, Rahu Mahadasha is in general not a good Dasha for health. It's a relatively bad Dasha. And if you want to look at career, etc., you can look at the Dashansha and other charts. But if you want to look at health, Rashi is primarily sufficient. But there is another chart known as D6. There is a chart that is known as D6. This is the chart that shows various obstacles that you get in life, including diseases, litigation, etc. So you can see in the Rashi chart, because any disease is a physical thing. And Rashi is the physical chart of physical existence. So Rashi is important, but to get further details on what kind of disease, etc., you can look at D6. And if you look at D6, where is Rahu? Rahu is in the 11th house. And this is something that I haven't covered so far, but when you are looking at diseases in D6, the 6th house is important, the 11th house is important, and the 8th house is also important. The 11th house is the 6th from 6th. It is called Harasthana. If you take the 6th house and take the 6th therefrom, that is the 11th house. So 11th house is called the Harasthana, and 11th house is basically ruled by Hara or Shiva. It is a form of Shiva, it's not Dakshinamurti or Ishana. Those are auspicious forms. Hara is another form which is basically responsible for delivering you and giving you troubles, giving physical problems, etc. So 11th house is not an auspicious sign. Only in D6. If Rahu is in the 11th house in any other chart, it is good. He will give lot of gains. But here, this is a chart of disease. And here, if you are talking about gains, it is not good. It is basically getting lot of diseases. And moreover, who are the other planets that Rahu and Ketu are afflicting? Sun. Rahu and Ketu are afflicting Sun. Sun is the Karaka, significator for physical vitality. Sun is the significator for physical vitality. And Moon is the significator for mental vitality, the mental existence. So, Sun, the physical vitality Karaka, is afflicted by nodes. Rahu and Ketu, his worst enemies. He is actually being eclipsed. Because Sun is being eclipsed, if you see Sun or Moon being eclipsed in D6, it is bad for health. If it is Moon, it is more related to mind. If it is Sun, it is more related to the physical body. So here, because Sun is with Rahu and Ketu, do you reckon that Rahu Dasha will be a good Dasha? No. Now, if he needs good health, what does he need to do? Who does he need to propitiate? Sun. Why? Because he is the one. He is the vitality Karaka and he is the main guy. Even though Rahu being in Ghoramsha in the 6th house in Rogapada in Rashi chart itself is bad, the specific diseases that he is getting are because of Sun being affected by Rahu. And the diseases are actually, the problems he gets are likely to be related to Sun. What does Sun show? That's right, but specifically if you divide various body parts between the planets, for example, kidney problems will be Venus. Like that. What are the body parts that Sun shows? Anybody? No. If you look at, no, not exactly. That is partly true. If you look in the natural zodiac, Aries is the first sign, this is the second sign. So you have to do like that. When you look at body parts, you always have to use Naisargika chakra, that is the natural Kala chakra. So Aries will show head and brain. Taurus will show face. Gemini will show neck as well as the respiratory system. Gemini will show respiratory system including lungs. Right? And then
Moon will show.
The 4th house, Moon will show
Mind and
heart.
No, heart.
Of course, mind is related to heart, but it shows heart. And then the 5th house, Leo shows, 5th house and Sun show stomach, digestive system. Right? And the 6th house shows the lower abdomen. It is the other part of the digestive system. Like,
I already have diabetes and lower, I have prostatitis.
okay, we'll come to that, but okay, good. We'll come to that slowly, but let's finish the list. And 7th house will show kidneys and the reproductory parts that are hidden inside the body, hidden reproductory parts. And then the 8th house shows the physical, the reproductory organ as well as the anus, all these parts are shown by Scorpio. 7th is internal part, 8th is external part. The actual anus, the actual penis, all these things are shown by 8th house or Scorpio. And then the internal parts like uterus, all these things are shown, kidneys, all these things are shown by kidney, 7th house or Libra or Venus. And let's leave the 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th. Let's go up to the 8th house. Let's stop there. We are less interested in the parts below, knees, feet, etc. Yeah, we are less interested in them. Thighs, knees, legs and then feet. So, this is the list. And so, if Sun is afflicted by Rahu and Ketu, you can expect some problems relating to digestive system. The problems are mainly related to stomach, not brain tumor or something. If Mars is debilitated or the first house is debilitated, then you can expect those problems. Here, because it is Sun, the problems are more related to digestive system. And what is the cure, like I said earlier? Propitious Sun. Read Aditya Hridayam every day or at least Sunday. Then Sun will become stronger. He will be able to fight with Rahu and Ketu. Right now he is not able to fight. That is why there is disease. So if you strengthen Sun, then there will be some relief. And now, if you want to look at Antardashas, with this we will end. Other examples we will see in next class. So if you want to look at the current the current Antardasha, what is the Antardasha right now in Rahu Dasha? What is the Antardasha he is running right now? Mercury Antardasha. Do you think Mercury Antardasha will be bad? For that you have to see where is Mercury. Mercury is in 9th house. And this is something that I haven't covered so far, but there is something known as Badhakasthana. It is basically 6th house is obstacles that you can see. 8th houses are sudden problems that come because of something bad you did in past karma. But the Badhakasthana it shows troubles that have no reason. They can be from spirits, they can be from ghosts, they can be from various sources, but you don't know, you don't have a logical explanation of why it is happening. These are undiagnosable problems. That is what Badhakasthana shows. And Badhakasthana is defined as for mobile signs means for Aries, Cancer, Libra and Capricorn. For these signs, you take the 11th house, that is Badhakasthana. For Sthira Rasis are fixed signs, that is Taurus, Leo, Scorpio and Aquarius. For these 4 signs, the Badhakasthana is the 9th house from there. And then from jewel signs or Dusvaha Rashis, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius and Pisces, the 7th house is Badhaka Sthana. So, here, where is Mercury? Mercury is in the 9th house of Badhaka Sthana. Because this is a fixed sign, Taurus, the Badhaka Sthana is the 9th house. So, Mercury shows some undiagnosable errors, problems. So, during, even Shani, if you look at Shani, Shani is the Lord of this house. Shani is the Lord of Badhaka Sthana. So, the previous Antardasha of Shani, as well as the current Antardasha of Mercury, these are showing Badhaka problems. These can be problems from some spirits also, some ghosts also that you can't see. These can be problems from some, especially Badhaka shows problems relating to some tantras that somebody may have done against you. Somebody may have done, I don't know the English name, black magic. Somebody may have done black magic or problems of that nature. And it may not even be right now in this life. Somebody may have done black magic against you in a past life. For some reason, you may not have experienced the results. They may have been postponed to the next life by some other tantra that you did. And you may be experiencing the results now. But bottom line is, Badhaka, if Badhaka is involved, the problems given in that period will be from unscientific sources. Sources that you can't explain scientifically. Sources that you can't even diagnose. Undiagnosable sources. And here, the exact period is 2001. Of course, the periods may be wrong. Like I said, 1 minute error can change it by 5 months. And in the case of Lagna, because Lagna moves faster than Moon. The Moon takes 1 whole month to go around the zodiac, but Lagna does it in 1 day. So Lagna changes 30 times faster. So Lagna Vimshotri Dasha dates change 30 times faster. So if there is 1 minute error, it can be wrong by a year or even more. So let us not assume that it is perfect. It may not be 2001, it may be 2000 or it may be 2002. But basically, Shani Antardasha starting will be the start of the problems, and until the end of Mercury Antardasha, the problems can't be really diagnosed and cured. Cure cannot come when Badhaka is involved. So during this time, praying is the only way. So until the end of Mercury Antardasha, which is tentatively 2006, but could be different. You will know only when we rectify. So that period is bad. And do you think Ketu, suppose you want to make predictions, does anybody think Ketu Antardasha will be good if you give relief? No. Because Ketu is joining Rahu and he is afflicting Sun. So unfortunately, you can only hope for some relief until Ketu Antardasha. If the person does not want honest feedback from you, if he just wants you to solace him, you can say, do this, everything will go away. But if you want to be realistic and honest with the person, what you can tell this person is, of course the person is right here, but what you can tell is, read Aditya Hridayam and pray to Sun, and that will, or even Surya Gayatri you can read. So pray to Surya, that will alleviate your troubles to some extent, but the troubles are not expected to be completely cured until the end of Ketu Antardasha. But what about Venus? Venus Antardasha, do you think that will solve the problems? Venus is second house, alright, but he owns the Lagna. He is the Lagna Lord. So Lagna Lord is always, he shows curing. So Lagna Lord, that too he has Argala on Lagna. And he has Argala on these bad planets also. He has an intervention there. So if Lagna Lord is having intervention on trouble causing planets, what will that intervention mean? Removing putting an end to it. So Venus Antardasha is extremely likely to put an end to the problems. The problems are likely to be cured in Venus Antardasha, 2007, 2008 time frame. But plus or minus 1 year, unfortunately, because this is Lagna Vimshotri Dasha and we haven't rectified. So this is how you can use the dashas and you can use the stars and then you can make judgments.
But Venus will be aspecting the Pisces all the time now, right?
Venus will be
aspecting
right.
So not only during the dasha, but because of the Rasi Drishti, he will be aspecting this.
Right, absolutely. Venus is always aspecting.
Course, right.
So because of that aspect, he always wants to keep the health good. So always health does not basically slip below a certain level. But here there is Argala also. I said Rasi Drishti results are always given, but Argala results are given in periods. So Venus having Argala on these planets is what It gives that influence. Lagna lords, Argala and trouble causing planets will stop the trouble. So that Argala will manifest in Venus Antardasha. So when Rahu takes control over his life, when Venus gets control over a small part of that life, he will say, hey Rahu, why are you doing this? Stop this. And then he will put a break to that. Because Venus has that agenda. He is the Lagna Lord. That is the agenda of Venus. And now, one more important point. We haven't looked at Arudha here. Rahu is being with Sun, afflicting the Karaka of vitality. He will afflict the Karaka. He will afflict the physical vitality. The physical vitality suffers. But should it result in a particular disease? A particular disease that has a name, that has a characterization in the books? Should there be a disease? Disease is seen only from A6, the Arudha. So if you see A6, you will see that Rahu has a strong influence on A6. Rahu owns A6. Because this sign is owned by two planets, Rahu and Shani. Out of them, Rahu is stronger, being alone. Being with more planets. Shani is alone. So Rahu is dominating. So, and also he has Argala and A6. Being in the second house from there. So, house lord having Argala on the house will make that house flourish. That is why there are diseases in this particular period. So, he is not only in A6 in Rashi chart, but he is having Argala and A6 in B6 also. Owning A6 and having Argala on A6. So, because of that, there is a strong chance of Rahu giving disease. So, Rahu Dasha overall is bad. In particular, the Antardashas that we have seen, Shani, Budha, Ketu, they are bad. And Venus will give some relief. So, the lesson from this is, if a Dasha is bad, it doesn't mean the whole period is bad. There will be some trigger that will start the problem, and there may be a trigger that will remove the problem. And you have to identify them using Antardashas. And the lesson is always look at the Arudhas. And I will summarize the important point of today once more. Houses from Lagna show qualities of the person. Like internal qualities, inherent internal potential qualities of the person. And then they are tapped, that inherent potential is tapped by the house lord and then converted into something that people can see, and that is Arudha. So if you see the Arudha of the house, that is something that people see. That is not you or your quality. That is something external that people can see. Like a trophy, a Filmfare Award trophy, or a book that I wrote, or a particular puja that I am doing. So these are tangible things that come out of your qualities that people see. And typically people use them to judge your qualities. So that is Arudha of the house. And finally, houses from Arudha Lagna will show qualities of your image. In other words, perceived qualities. How people perceive your various qualities. That is some houses from Arudha Lagna. So this is the main difference between the three. And depending on what you are interested in, you have to look at all of them or some of them to give predictions. Okay? So with that, I will end for today. We will meet next Sunday at the same time, at the same place. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.